What's up, you guys? Welcome to this episode of Krystel Clear. Whew. What has life taught me in the past year? Like all the things. For one, got pulled over on my way here today to film my podcast. So one of the big teachings and reminders is use your blinker when you're weaving in and out of traffic. And if you happen to have a bright blue car like I do right now, you're just kind of a target anyway. But seriously, in all seriousness, this year of doing this podcast has been one of the most rewarding years for myself as far as like self-acceptance, compassion, empowerment, just observing myself in a different way. And it's really allowed me to have a whole different love and appreciation for not only what I have to offer, but just for me, because I've shared on very many podcasts, always been kind of gotten trapped in my self-judgment and things like that, like we all do from time to time. But it's been really eye-opening in so many ways. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of you who have participated and listened and come along the whole journey. And it's going to continue, but I will say that this is going to be my season finale for season 1 because we have some travel and stuff coming up and I'm all about practicing what I preach. So I really want to take some time to spend with my family and travel and just have a little downtime. I'm in this space where I know I'm really being pulled in that direction and I need it. For example, this morning I had all these plans to get up and work out and do like 5 different things before I had to take my kids to the dentist, and it just didn't work out that way. I laid and chatted with my husband for about an hour, and then little guy woke up and I was going to go take a walk and he wanted me to stay with him and snuggle. So that's what we did. And again, continuing to surrender to the flow and embracing it, because I feel like, even a few months ago, a year ago, definitely prior to that, I would have let that totally funk up my day. Like I didn't get my workout in earlier. I would have been bitter and annoyed. But why? Like, why do we do that to ourselves? So that's been one of the biggest lessons in all this is, and two, if you're putting it out to the world and sharing these values, it holds me accountable in a totally different way. And that's one of the things I really appreciate, that I've created this level of accountability for myself just by getting on and doing this podcast with you guys. And it's been an amazing experience. Really one of the greatest tools that I feel like has come about. I mean, and I've always felt this way, but then again, I think prior to a lot of the healing and inner work I've done, I had some expectations around relationships and people and things like that I didn't realize I had. Like it's all kind of our perception and conditioning. But I've really started to, and this includes myself, like meeting people where they are. And there's something powerful in that. I've had a variety of guests on the podcast, and we're all in different levels and different journeys. And my spouse and I are different levels and different journeys of our lives. But understanding and meeting people where they are is a gift. It's a gift to you because you realize that, okay, I don't need to fix or change or do anything if I can just accept them for who they are right now and find that joy and compassion to relate to them in some way. And if you can't relate to them in some way, just have compassion for like the place they're in. And I say that because my husband and I were talking about our trips coming up with our teenagers. And, when you have 17, 15, 14, and 4, and, it can be a challenge with the different age demographics and everyone. We really try not to allow the 4-year-old to prioritize all of our time and really be intentional with the older ones as well, but also value and respect their space and time, and, taking walks and them having earbuds in instead of just walking and talking to us. Those things evolve and changes. So making sure to, meet them where they are and understand, like, I remember when I was 17, if I could walk down the street with a phone in my pocket and earbuds in my ear, I probably would have as well. And they're really not going to understand, like, hey, I would really like to connect with you on this walk unless we tell them that. So it's been a really great opportunity for me to hold myself accountable again for sharing more and communicating more if I need someone to understand where I am and they're not meeting me there. So just being clear with my intentions and boundaries and intention, like being intentional with conversation when it comes to what I'm trying to seek from that level of communication at the time. Like if I want to go away for a weekend with my daughter, I will say ahead of time, like, I would love for us to be able to connect and kind of put our phones away and enjoy each other and realizing it's okay to set those parameters ahead of time and even set boundaries for myself because I've spoke about this again many times, trying to be where my feet are and be present in all my moments and not doing work emails when I'm in the dentist office like I was this morning and Brody's crawling all over me when I'm trying to get a work email done. Like I knew better than that. Like let's be real with ourselves, you know? So I that's been a really interesting part of my exploration here in the past few years and it's constant work because I feel like there's something constantly coming up. Like there's always something on to next. Like you can always be going on to next if you're focused on the on to next. But I've really been trying to be present in my moments. And to be quite honest, I didn't do a very good job of that this morning. I did when Brody really set the tone and he's like, "Mommy, I want to snuggle." And he wanted to watch Joy, which is Inside Out, which is a super cute movie. So we snuggled this morning. I skipped my walk. I can do it later if it's not raining, whatever. Not a big deal. One day not walking is not going to kill me. It might put other people at risk, but no, I'm just kidding. Um, but being in my moments there. But then once we got to the dentist and the kids were in their dentist chairs, I was trying to get a couple things done. And then, my attention was kind of pulled in other directions. And then I feel like I'm halfway into all the activities or events and situations, and that's not fun either. So it was another reminder, again, always learning. I really realized I got back into we were sick a couple times, and I got back into kind of a rut of self-judgment and like being really critical with myself in different ways. Kind of going along the lines of, you're half-assing things. You're not going, you got to full ass all the things, right? Got to go all in. And I wasn't, and I know I was doing too many things at once and I wasn't taking time to prioritize where I needed to be and being in those moments. So I felt like I was halfway involved with kid activities. I was halfway involved in work activities. I was halfway involved in situations with my spouse. And I don't like that. Like, I want to feel like I'm going all in, which is kind of my inspiration and motivation to take a little break for the summer and enjoy myself. Take a few things like what I can take off my plate, doing that, and what I need to prioritize, prioritizing that. And that's really just putting in effort. School's out. Like I kept Rudy goes through school throughout the summer. So he was so excited to just stay home and no school today just for a dentist appointment. So it was one of those things that was like, why not do this more often? Let him play hooky and stay home and just go to the beach and do the little things if I can. So that's what I'm really going to put some effort into all of that and getting back to the self-judgment when I was feeling like I was kind of halfway in. What really allowed me to snap back into reality per se when I was getting critical and kind of like you should have known better. I was kind of going the route of like shoulda, woulda, couldas. And that's something that again, never set rigid boundaries. I was really kind of stuck to I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. But I got back into it. And guess what? You can easily pull yourself back out of it just by observing it. So I was real with myself and I started switching it to gratitude. Like instead of I have to do this today, I get to do this today. And there's power in that. And understanding that, for example, we had a lacrosse tournament all weekend and when you do that, you don't necessarily take the whole family. So I took just Tatum and I went for the weekend, and it was so much fun. And I really wanted to take Brody because I was going to miss him, but I'm like, it would have been really hot for him. So I felt like I kind of had to choose between the two, but I was doing that to myself. So there was really no reason to put myself in that position. So I really snapped myself out of it by saying, I am super grateful. I get to spend this intentional time with her, really go all in and be there and enjoy the time. And then we come back and I'll make sure to make up that time and spend it with the rest of the family. And for me, that's something that I was always going on to next. And it's easy to do that. And I've mentioned this before. I feel like I was getting super overwhelmed with, I have this meeting and this going on and this appointment. And it was just a lot. And I realize when I get in those situations where I have a lot going on, I start nitpicking myself apart. Like, did you exercise today? Did you? So it's like, why would you do that on top of all the other shit you have going on? Why pick yourself apart too? It was an old pattern and I caught it. So if you find yourself in the middle of summer, I'm actually doing a podcast. I'm doing a retreat on this weekend, a summer solstice and full moon retreat. And we're really going to focus on what were your observations the first half of the year? What did you observe about yourself? What were your thought patterns? What were your actions? What were your intentions? What did you share your heart and your energy for? And then reevaluating that, releasing anything that doesn't serve you from that place, allowing yourself to find gratitude and compassion if there were places you missed, or like really finding joy in what you got to experience, and then setting intentions for the second half of the year. Like, what would you like to do or accomplish or focus on? And how would you like to prioritize your attentions for the latter half of the year? And without setting, I really don't like to set strict goals for myself. Like, I'm going to get this done with the deadline, because I think that puts a lot of pressure. But some people work well that way. I don't really work well that way. I don't like it. So I don't do that for myself. But doing things that you enjoy. And that's another thing. We did this whole race for every kid in the month of May for charity, for Souls for Souls, who's a great organization that we support. And you had to log your miles, and it was a fundraiser. So old Krystel started to come out a little bit during that month. I'm not going to lie, like the competitive nature, like, ooh, so-and-so's ahead of me in miles. I got to beat that today. Or I need to do cycle this day and walk this day. I was planning my workouts in advance. I was planning my miles in advance. And those are things that I had really worked hard to let go of when it comes to like exercise and being in control in a sense. And then I got the flu. So I really, and honestly, even when I had the flu and after I had the flu, I still kind of ignored the fact that I had the flu for a reason, because I'm a firm believer that, universe, whatever you believe in, throws things at you to kind of test you in situations like this. So I had a week and a half, I couldn't do anything because I had 104.5 fever. It was crazy. But it was one of those kind of like life smack in the face that you don't have to win the race. You can just participate and have fun. And I think there's a part of me that exists that still has a hard time with that one. But I'm working on her. I'm working on calming her down and really stressing her to just enjoy it, because I do really enjoy exercise. I'm just one of those people. I love moving my body. I love sweating. I love being active. I love having fun. And I really authentically love that. But I was getting to the point where I was pushing myself and I was pushing the envelope, and I got like over 260 miles in the month of May with having the week and a half off with the flu. So I still pushed myself, and I still came in third place for miles and second place for fundraising in our super team. And I learned a lot about myself because I did fall back into a pattern. And honestly, I gained like 6 pounds that month, which you would think, oh my gosh, she did 260 miles. She probably lost a lot of weight. No, Like my body does not like the high intensity anymore. I've worked so hard on my adrenals to get them leveled and situated and really had this calm realm of life that my body started rejecting what I was doing. I was doing too much because for me, having recovered from PTSD, regulating hormones, my cortisol levels, I'm actually doing a new test for this, which I'll talk about in a second, which is pretty interesting. But to test, where when my cortisol is high, when it's low, how much I'm producing, if I am producing it, are my adrenals functioning properly? Like I always utilize myself as a science human behavior nerd and realize, and I know that I was causing inflammation in my body because I was doing absolutely too much in the month of May and I had to pay for it. And so now that I've kind of weaned off of that, I've just been going in and getting back to the basics of walking my 10,000 or so steps a day. I don't track it. I kind of know where my loops are. I've figured out that if I can walk like a 2.5, 3 mile walk a day, I get my 10,000 steps in. I prefer to walk 3 to 4 miles because that's just like my peace and quiet and calm and hour or so away from the house and everything and everyone and just connect with nature. And then strength training 3 to 4 days a week. But taking it light, like I don't have to go in for hours in the gym to do all these crazy workouts for my body to respond. Like I have the muscle memory, I have the body chemistry level to where it's too much for me if I do anything more than like a 30 to 45 minute strength training. So I've really pulled back on the high intensity because I got taught a lesson. I was doing all this work, I was doing all of these miles, and I ended up gaining inflammation weight anyway. And I knew it was inflammation because I eat pretty healthy and stuff like that. So I knew it wasn't anything else I was doing. It was directly correlated with that. So lesson to yourself. If you feel like you're pushing yourself too hard, sometimes you have to realize, and always my mentality was work through it, exercise through it, push it to the side. But my body didn't know and still doesn't know the difference between mental and physical stress. So not only was I physically stressing my body out in the month of May by doing all this more high intensity mileage and things like that, I was mentally stressing myself out about worrying about it, worrying and going back to those old competitive habits. And what is that? And Matt and I have talked about this on a podcast before. It's like the false sense of self, right? Like my authentic self, she doesn't care how many miles. Like, is it the ego that it's coming from? The one that cares if her stats on the leaderboard are number one? Absolutely. I mean, I used to go to cycle class and almost freaking kill myself with resistance to get first place. And was it fun? Yes. Was it gratifying? Yes. But after that, did the high immediately stop? Or did I just keep carrying on feeling like it was just this great thing? No, it creates this constant. And I think that that's part of the addiction part of exercise for me, just like any other addiction. You get what you need or you get what you think you want and you want more. You get what you need, you get what you think you want and you want more. It's that same dopamine pattern. And it doesn't matter if it's exercise, if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's food, you can get that in a variety of different ways. And I really caught myself back in that trap. So now I have shifted perspective and I wanted to share because I think it's something worthy of doing, especially when seasons change, when one thing that I really wanted to point out too is like I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Summer can be difficult, whether it's because your kids are out of school and there's camps and extracurricular things you have to pay for, or you have a shifted energy, a shift in your job. It's hot. Like it's so hot outside. I love walking and I love being outside, but midday when I love to take my walks, and sometimes when I get the only opportunity to take a walk between things, it is so hot. So, that can be limiting and also fatiguing and exhausting if you're not properly hydrated and have the right nutrition in your body. So, I really just started to focus on doing things that I enjoy. And I've supplemented going. I love walking, so I don't always have to walk outside. I can go to the gym and take a walk or walk on the Stairmaster. And I started listening to a new book, Gabby Bernstein's Super Attractor, which I don't know how I haven't listened to this book yet. Really great. And it really spoke to me at this place where I am, like in this space in my journey, because like I said, I really got back to some old patterns, and she has a whole couple chapters on comparison and why do we do that? Like I started comparing myself to old versions of myself, and that's not fair because I've worked my ass off to get to this version of myself. So whether Krystel from 2019 had an 8-pack, great for her. She was also a nervous wreck because she was all over the place and she wasn't in her present. She was always forward thinking or thinking in the past. And yeah, she looked amazing, but how did she feel? So really getting into basing things that I do in my life on how it makes me feel rather than how it's going to make me look or who else is going to be there or whoever, like, who is it going to please? It's how does it make you feel? And that's something that I would love for you guys to take a moment and really kind of think about that throughout your days. If something, or just observe it as it's happening, if something's not feeling right. I was actually just having a conversation with my mom on the way here, and she was feeling a little off. And she's like, oh, this reason from the past is why I'm not feeling okay about this. Sometimes it's not even in the moment that it's allowing us to feel. Sometimes it's a past event or something that's happened in our conditioning or something we haven't fully processed through that it's affecting the feeling we're having today. And that's really worth taking a step. And I personally love to journal about things like this and writing it out because it takes me a minute. Sometimes I don't have the time to sit and process through something during the day. And even, for example, at the kid's dentist appointment today, I have dental trauma from being a child. Like I had terrible teeth. I feel like it was like part of probably child neglect. Had cavities all the time. And my kids have never had a cavity. They have perfect dental health, but I was anxious in the dentist and I found myself like I said, doing the work email, and Brody was getting up from his chair and coming and sitting all over me. And I just started feeling like, oh, like, okay, I'm feeling a little stuck in here, but I put my phone away. I gave him the snuggles and loves he needed. I realized that it's probably my previous dental trauma, for lack of a better word, that was affecting how I was responding to them at that moment and also contributing to some avoidance behaviors like doing emails when I should be really paying attention to the dental appointment. And that's one thing that I've noticed about myself. If I find that I get in a bored place or like a space of, I don't want to say lack, but it kind of is lack. Like if I start to find myself going into like a lack mentality, like I want more of this, or I need to do more of this, or if I had this, it would be, I've really tried to shift that to I'm grateful that things are the way they are. And focusing on the things that I'm grateful for in those moments instead of focusing on what I don't have, like when I gained the 6 pounds, for example, from going super high intensity and my body being inflamed. I freaked out a little bit because I'm like, how could this be happening at first? Like, oh my gosh, like I've been doing all of this work. I've eaten really great. I don't drink anymore. I don't really eat sweets. Like, what is going on with my body? And I went into this lack mentality. And why? I should have just focused on, well, I should have myself, then I just caught it, or should have. Um, I had the opportunity to shift my focus on, wow, I did 260 miles in the month of May. Now I'm going to get myself back in gear to regulate my system. And that's what I've done. So it's been a really great observation and just sticking to the joy and the gratitude. And that's one thing I've learned from the book. I haven't learned it, I've known this, but a reminder from the book is do things that bring you joy. Like, I don't enjoy Disney World. I admire the people that go to Disney World in the summer. I don't understand it. I don't. I I just don't. Bless you all. for the patience that you have, but I am not that person. And I really want to take Brody at some point, but I can't. I'm not in the summer. So I'm not going to force myself to do that because it would be opportune time to do it. We have extra time, but there's no way. Because I know if I did, I would be miserable and he would be miserable. So why drag both of us into a situation where neither one of us are going to really thrive? And I feel like sometimes summer can do that. We even have a trip coming up and all 6 of us are going. It's a place we've never been. And I really am working hard to not overschedule that and give us some lag time. Because one thing I would do before is, set up an itinerary, like we're going to go here, we're going to go there, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. But we don't know how we're going to feel after the time change. And I just am really craving a lax, low key situation and a really low key trip and excited about that and just having some intentional family time. Because even though we can all be together in the summer, and, at the house, I feel like there's something different and something special about being away and just having some intentional time, whether it's taking a walk or taking a hike and enjoying some time on the water. Those are special moments. And I don't want to overschedule it with busy things just because we want to fit it all in. Because guess what? Hopefully we can afford to go back and do it all again someday. And, but I don't want any of us to feel overscheduled, overworked, or just overdone, because I think there's a balance there. And when you have 6 people in your family, that's a lot of different personalities. It's a lot of different bellies to feed. That's a lot of, so I sent the kids some activities. I'm like, everyone pick an activity and something you want in like a restaurant, somewhere you want to eat. Nothing, got nothing back from them. So I'm like, you know what? We're just going to wing it. We're just going to wing it and see how it goes. And we're going to have fun. I'll come back after summer and give you an update on how that all went. Hopefully it goes well. But life is just, I've really been in awe lately. Life is so precious and time goes by so fast. So I really just want to take this opportunity to enjoy the moments, to slow down a bit and feel what I need instead of scheduling things I think I want to do. And there's something to that because what I need today might not be what I need tomorrow. And the day after that might be completely different as well. So I've really taken initiative to wake up each morning. I've started this consciousness journaling first thing in the morning. I'm working with an intuition coach and he's really awesome. And he's like, really before you do anything, especially before you log on to technology or anything, really start your stream of consciousness journaling. And it has been so impactful for me because it allows me to just dump, almost like brain dump in the morning. And sometimes it feels like I'm not even the one writing on the paper, which is really magical. And an example of that I really want to share with you guys is I probably had one of the most impactful intuition, just kind of guided, moments. It was Father's Day weekend and my husband was out of town. He had something scheduled prior to this cool thing called the Cosmic Summit that he goes to annually. Anyway, so I woke up, had a slow morning with the kiddos, and we usually walk to the farmer's market on Sundays. And had a slow morning. It was about 11 o'clock. And I asked Brody, like, you ready to go to the farmer's market? Yes, let's go. So we took a walk. He wanted to take a scooter. So we packed the scooter in the stroller. It's like a 3-mile walk there. You can make it a 6-mile, 7-mile loop, but depending on how hot it is, sometimes I just take the long way there and then take the short way back and make it like 4 or 5. Anyway, So we get to the farmer's market. He's scooting around. It's a beautiful day. We go to our elevation tea truck that we love. And he scooted up. Yeah, I guess scooted up on the scooter to the popsicle shop and ordered himself a popsicle. So we have our little farmer's market routine. But one of the things out of routine is he's like, Mommy, I want to get myself some flowers. So I'm like, okay, let's get you some flowers, bud. And they had really cute, like build your own bouquet. Kinspoke. It's a really cute thing that they have at Waterside and Liquid Ranch. And he picked all the yellow flowers. He wanted a certain yellow flower and he wanted them all. So we got like 7 yellow flowers. And we rode a scooter and took the stroller to kind of did a little loopy around. And then we went to the splash pad. And when we went to the splash pad, I noticed he got in the water and he was playing and everything. And I noticed there was a young girl who she was in her clothes, fully clothed, and she seemed a little timid and shy. And I could feel her energy, right? And I don't know. I just wanted to give her a hug, but you can't do that at the park. It's weird. You can't just hug random people's kids. I don't know what I would do if an adult just came over and hugged mine, so I'm not going to do that to anyone else's. So anyway, I just felt she needed some love. And I noticed her mom was having a hard time. And, it's not my business to tell, but I could just tell the mom was feeling all the feels. She had several little kids with her and it was, hot. It was a hard day. Like I said, it was Father's Day and I could tell she was there with the kiddos alone. And, so I felt the family needed some love. So I kind of got up from where I was and walked over closer to them, but not like in their space, but close to them. And I don't know, after just overhearing a couple conversations, I turned around and I was like, you have a really beautiful family. And she looked at me and she's like, oh, thanks. And Brody was playing with some of the kids. And about, I don't know, probably 20 minutes later, he comes over and he's like, Mom, I want to give the little girl a flower. And so he wanted to give one of her children a flower. And I was like, oh my gosh, buddy, that's really sweet. And so he went and he gave one of the little girls a flower. There were, I think, 3 girls and 1 boy. And he's like, I want to give them all a flower. I was like, who? He's like, her sisters. So he grabbed 3 flowers and went and gave them to each of the kids in this family. And they were all scattered around the splash pad playing. So like, how did he know those were in the same family? Anyway, the mom looked over and she's like, where'd you get that? Talking to the kids. And I was like, he really wanted to give him a flower. And I hope that that's okay. And I could feel her spirit kind of settling and the mood changed and it got a little lighter. And one of the little girls came over probably about 10 minutes later because, you're a splash pad, you lose track of all the time. And one of the little girls came over and she said, it really, really makes me want to cry that you and your son are so kind. And, sorry, it makes me emo. And I said, well, it's okay to cry. I cry all the time. And you deserve kindness. Like you deserve all of the love and all of the kindness. You know that, right? She looked at me and she goes, yeah, I know that. And she told me her name and how old she was. And there was another opportunity with one of the older girls and she was walking around and the one that was really shy. And so I was like, you have a really beautiful spirit. And she smiled. It's like, I can feel it. I was like, you're going to do awesome things. And I could just feel her perk up a little bit more and a little bit more. And before I left the park, I went and changed Brody and everything. And they kind of transitioned to the dry park. So before we left, I don't know, I had some cash in my wallet and I just felt really pulled to go say goodbye to her. Like I didn't want the mom, because I moved closer and I commented on her and her family. I didn't want her to feel judged in any way. And I really felt pulled to go offer her help. I know what it's like to have young kids. I know what it's like to have 4 kids. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, especially the ages. They were probably like 10 to 2 years old. So I walked over across the park and Brody scooted along and I said, can I give you my number if you ever need any help or anything? And she's like, no, it's okay. And I said, well, what if you just get them some ice cream on us today? Like, can we buy you guys some ice cream? And I had folded up the cash from my wallet really small and handed it to her. And she gave me the biggest squeeze, like grabbed me, hugged me, the tightest probably I've ever been hugged. And I just stayed there and I let her hug me as long as she needed to hug me. And I told her, I was like, you really deserve all of the love and all of the blessings, and so do your kids. And she just kept thanking me and she apologized. I'm like, don't apologize. I get it. Like, I've been there. I understand more than you know. And I just want you to know that like help is out there and we're here for you. And we would, if there's anything you need, please let me give you my number so you have it. And she let me text her, and I text her my name. Then she has my number. And then I got a little photo later on of all the kids eating ice cream. And sure enough, a really sweet thank you. And her expressing her gratitude of indeed thought that I was judging her at first, but realized that I was just trying to offer her help. And I think that I don't know. I've mentioned several times, like always feeling guided and supported, and following my intuition is something that I really am slowing down to tap into more, because I really felt led to go to the park that day. I felt led to put cash in my wallet that day. I felt led to bring my business cards. And I'm like, who the hell's taking their business cards to the farmer's market? I'm not doing that. But I really felt like I wanted to, and that would have been a perfect opportunity to give her my Resilient Retreat business cards. But it worked out that I didn't, because it got to be more personal than that. And I received gratitude for that. And it really came from a place of compassion, because I have been there and I have done that. And it's been one of the most rewarding things to learn how much compassion I've had from other people, or gained for other people, from putting myself out there in other ways. There were times where I'd probably just ignored or even judged her from the beginning, or ignored the situation, or been triggered by it and like vented about it, or taken it out on my own kids because I was triggered by it and didn't understand why I was feeling what I was feeling. But I mean, the bottom line is this growth and this journey is something really special. And there's always observations and opportunities to grow and to learn more about yourself. And just because you've gotten to a certain place in your journey doesn't mean you're not going to fall back into old patterns like I did. But it's being consciously aware that you're going back and forth, and sharing that forgiveness and opening up and even talking about it to other people. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to take a little bit of a slower summer. And I'm sure I'll have my podcast notebook and I'll be writing all kinds of ideas and inspirations and stories for you guys when we come back with season 2. One thing I have observed, and has been one of my big awakenings in talking about coming from that lack mentality, is saying missing. So my husband was out of town for 2 weekends, and instead of saying to him at dinner on Thursday night, I'm going to miss you this weekend, I shifted that to, I'm really enjoying our time together tonight. And when I leave Brody at school in the morning, it's, I'm going to miss you today. It's, I am excited you get to learn today. I'm excited to see you this afternoon. So realizing I was using the word missing because I love my family and I love being around people. And it's just a funny little thing I observed about myself. And now Matt kind of teases me about it. But saying like missing, like it's kind of that thinking forward too. So it keeps you in your present moment. and allows you to observe. And so snuggling at nighttime instead of I'm going to miss you while you're sleeping, it's like, I'm so glad we get to snuggle right now. And thank you for giving me a hug right now, and keeping it in the present and acknowledging that moment. Because quite honestly, there's going to be times where I have a day to myself. I'm not missing anyone. I just want some time to myself. So if I don't say that, I don't want people to think I'm not missing them. So really just keeping myself in those moments and sharing what I'm feeling right then. Because if I'm thinking about them being gone, yes, I'm missing them. But if I'm thinking about and being intentional with making eye contact and being present with Matt at dinner, then it's being present with him. So I encourage you all to take time for yourselves. Spend some time doing what you enjoy, what you love, what makes you feel good, and paying attention to the way things make you feel. And if it doesn't make you feel good, don't do it. And if you can't get out of those situations and you do have to do it, switch it around and find the gratitude and the enjoyment and the peace. Because really, that's what it all boils down to, is finding that peace within yourself. And we have the ability to find that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we can bring ourselves back to peace. So it's been an amazing first season of Krystel Clear. I really appreciate all of you guys, and I look forward to season 2. That's a wrap.